In this video, we're going to talk about keloids. The reason for us to talk about keloids on the voltaicplasma.com website is because in the past, one of our distributors had some confusion about keloids, about what they are, and the difference between keloids and normal hypertrophic scars. Therefore, we thought about making a web page on this particular topic. Now, we made a web page on this topic because we couldn't find information easily available and clear enough about keloids and the difference. That a web page also outlined the difference between keloids and hypertrophic scars. So this video is going to cover this web page, and is going to discuss in general about keloids and the difference between keloids and hypertrophic scars. But if you want to know more details about this particular topic, then you can refer back to the relevant page on keloids, which we're going to jump into right now. So you can find this web page at the moment under brown spots, and then you can click on keloids there, and the hyperlink, this configuration can change in the future, but we'll try to keep this hyperlink here, so say voltaicplasma /keloids there as it is today. So the first image that we are seeing is the image of the cut of the skin, showing the epidermis, dermis and hypodermis. The reason for us to put that picture in there is to outline what scars are and how they're formed. That is to say, normally hypertrophic scars are formed when you cause an injury inside the dermis, especially close to the hypodermis, because that generates usually a hypergrowth of skin, and that creates the hypertrophic scars. But then we jumped into a couple of pictures of hypertrophic scars, just to give you an idea what they look like. You surely have seen them before in the past. And then we are jumping onto a very common picture of keloids, which are the keloids that are found on the earlobes and ear, and they develop normally after you have a piercing done. As you can see, for example, in this picture, the keloids are on skin type 3, 4 on the rightmost, and again 4 on the rightmost, 5 on the rightmost, and middle is around about 3 or 4, and the same applies onto the left, as to say 3 or 4 to the left. And this is another characteristic of keloids. They tend to be found on people of skin types 4, 5 and 6, although this is a general rule, but they can also be found on people of skin type 1, 2 and 3, as to say clear skin type. And this picture is there because they're quite typical. Keloids tend to grow where you cause an injury inside the skin, and when you apply piercing onto the earlobe or onto the ears, then sometimes you can get this sort of keloids. And this is a good picture because it outlines what keloids are, which are an overgrowth of skin, which is looks like a tumor. And this is what keloids are essentially. It's a benign tumor. So there's nothing to worry about keloids, and they can be removed very easily, also surgically. One of the problems about keloids is that if you remove them, then they tend to regrow anyway. But we're going to go into the next picture. This is a keloidal formation on the arm, where a tattoo was performed. This is quite typical. Whenever you cause an injury onto the skin on people that are prone to forming keloids, then you can have them also after a tattooing session or a tattoo removal session. So, and we're going to watch this particular picture, the one on the earlobes, and compare them to a hypertrophic scar. So if you can see, they're essentially different. what the difference is that keloids tend to overgrow the size of the initial skin injury, whereas hypertrophic scars, they overgrow it, but not as much. They don't actually overflow, as we've seen in keloids, that original injury that caused the keloids. So that is a fundamental difference. Another fundamental difference that you'll find on this webpage, which is explained on the webpage, pardon me, is that keloids tend to keep growing and growing and growing, not indefinitely, but far longer than normal hypertrophic scars. What hypertrophic scars do, they initially grow and then they shrink very, very slowly over time. Whereas this doesn't happen with keloids. They've got to be treated in various ways, and one of the ways is by cutting them using normal surgery. You can burn them by using voltaic arcing, lasers, and so on. But we're going to. This is another picture of a keloid after surgery on the chest, and this is quite interesting because you can see the signs of the sutures and also the cut in the middle of the chest. Very likely a open heart surgery, and that is quite typical of surgical procedures. Also another picture here of keloids that gives you an idea of the size of these keloids. It's a good picture because it shows you that they can occur also on skin types 1 and 2, but they're more predominant on skin types 4, 5, and 6. This is another picture to show you a surgical procedure to remove a keloid, quite typical procedure. And also this is another picture showing you one of the possible treatments of keloids. As I said, the injection of certain type of steroids inside the keloidal formation, which causes the keloid to shrink over time. This is another picture illustrating the same treatment, which is a medical treatment in this case, because we're injecting a pharmaceutical or a particular drug, and it's quite effective. This picture is just to show you the effects of administering this cortisone inside the keloids, and it's quite a good picture, and it's quite an effective treatment too. Then this is another picture outlining the development of keloids, which you can appreciate if you access this webpage again. This picture has been placed there just to show you the occlusion using silicone sheets. This is another treatment of keloids that can be done at home. And then we're going to about the home treatment about keloids. As I say, sheets with applying sheets with vitamin many apologies, vitamin E. So you apply vitamin E in a gel or in creams, heavy doses of vitamin E. You use occlusion for a number of hours every day. All the details are detailed here on their website, and this is a good and effective treatment, but it just takes a bit of time and perseverance to get good results using vitamin E. Also, the other treatments for keloids are cutting them using a scalpel, burning them off using lasers, voltaic arcing, and so on. So there's a number of ways to treat keloids. One of the main difference between trying to get rid of keloids and hypertrophic scars is that keloids can grow back. So one method of treating keloids by using electrical arcing or lasers is by burning them and then administering that cortisone injections onto the area that you have burned where the keloids were, to prevent them from growing back. So these treatments can be quite successful, but the problem with keloids is that they're not very sightly. and they're not as straightforward to remove because they can grow back, whereas if you just burn off an hypertrophic scar, they don't grow back. You just get a good result, a good aesthetic result, and you do not need to worry about that scar to grow back again, as it would in certain cases of keloids. So this is the basic gist of keloids on this webpage. It gives you an overview of what they are and how you can treat them. And if you want to know more about this topic or other topics, please let us know. Well, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again in the next video.